Till the next day comes to love us again. Written by Mechanical Universe. Read by Fandom Lover for Life 126. A Good Omens fanfiction. Relationship, Aziraphale and Crowley. Additional tags. Fluff, domestic, reminiscing. Summary. Night awoke slowly on the South Downs. The orange rays of the sun have settled beneath a blanket of slumbering fog, beginning to rise from the sea. Trees huddled in the nearby woods shushed each other as the breeze rolling off a quiet ocean rustled through their leaves. The street lamps illuminated not a single soul but for the old barking dog, whose senile senses have not detected a squirrel at this time, but its own tail. Almost everything hidden within the fog is asleep, rocked by the lullaby of the sea gliding along the shoreline. Everything except for the old dog and the much older angel. Please support the official release.
Night awoke slowly on the South Downs. The orange rays of the sun have settled beneath the blanket of slumbering fog, beginning to rise from the sea. Trees huddled in a nearby wood shushed each other as the breeze rolling off a calm ocean rustled through their leaves. The street lamps illuminated not a single soul but for the old barking dog, whose senile senses have not detected a squirrel at this time, but its own tail. Almost everything hidden within the fog is asleep, rocked by the lullaby of the sea. Everything except for the old dog and the much older angel. Aziraphale could almost always be found up and about at around midnight. About, no, but awake, yes. Though Crowley had tried his best to get him accustomed to sleep, he finds he cannot manage more than around 5 hours at a time. As a result, he is always the last to fall asleep and the first to awaken. He hopes Crowley did not mind this arrangement, or at least did not want to change it, because then the routine Aziraphale had grown to look forward to every day might change too. They both were settled into bed sometime between 10 and 11 o'clock p.m. They would sit and murmur to each other until no more words had to be spoken. When all was quiet, with the raspy whiffs of the old dog, Crowley murmured his goodnights, pressed a kiss on one of Aziraphale's body, his cheek, his side, his shoulder, and rolled over and away from the light of Aziraphale's reading lamp. Aziraphale would continue to read for another hour or two, listening to the turning of the pages beneath the orchestra of the crickets and the distant owls. There was a deep intimacy Aziraphale shared with the light of his reading lamp and the soot-black petals of the sky, gently unfurled to let its brilliant round moon glow upon silvery seagrass swaying and dancing to the melodies of the tides. When it was warm, he kept the window wide open so that the aromas of Crowley's garden could join him and his lamp as they pleased. Some nights it was the lavender which came to settle in the folds of the curtains, and some nights it was the roses that boldly weaved its way into the covers of their bed. But Basil was not too shy to simply observe from the windowsill. Underlying that was the earthy smell of freshly turned soil. Helping all of it together in a gentle hand was love. Oh, so much love. Aziraphale's whole existence had come to this point, the singularity on the sea-being horizon, where he spent his days with his entire universe, his everything at his side. He seemed so far away once, so unreachable. That had been a trick, a distortion of his own truths to those of heavens. Once the illusion was lifted, once the world did not end and the seagrass danced and the ocean tides rolled on, Aziraphale turned and found Crowley right beside him. He'd never been far from him at all. They discovered that one gentle summer evening when their heart-sweetened passion grew too large to contain in just two bodies. Out it came in dozens, hundreds perhaps, of words, no small bout of confusion, some anger, much relief, few tears, and a step back to recollect, regather, and rejoin. And once they came back together, they did not separate again. He looked now to his left, where Crowley was sleeping now. There was nothing elegant about the way he slept. His face pressed so deeply against Aziraphale's side, he'd be worried he was trying to push his way through the pinstripe fabric of his pajamas and all the way through his gut. True, he fell asleep facing away from the lamplight, but he always managed to find his way back to Aziraphale. His narrow body was only confined at all because it twisted and jutted in such a way that the sheets would round themselves around him like a spider's most ambitious creation. One elbow was uselessly propped up somewhere, and his free hand curled inward, occasionally twitching as he dreamt. How he slept through the night like that was unimaginable to Aziraphale. Yet here he was, asleep and blissfully unaware of any discomfort come morning. Nothing could wake him from his slumber except for the sun if it rudely snuck through the curtain Aziraphale closed before he slept and played its game on his eyelids. His breath, warm against Aziraphale's skin, matched the push and pull of the tides. Slow, steady, constant. He outshone the brilliant summer poppies when the sunlight caught his hair before it could bother him. Aziraphale laid a reverent hand there now, threading his fingers through the strands, while thumbing the dark ink of the serpent branded on Crowley's temple. He had been granted the most esteemed gift, to have this beautiful creature, man, demon, his fantastical, fathomless Crowley, everything about him, his trust, rare, his love, deep, and his body, healing. Not a day would pass without Aziraphale almost sinking to his knees in gratitude for being allowed to love all of him and to be loved by him. A great swelling rose up from somewhere behind his stomach, flooding him with adoration until he began to tremble and glow. Laughing silently, Aziraphale let the waves pass through him, let a few tears drip from his eyes, and turned out the lamp. The old dog had finally quieted, lulled by the shushing of the trees and the hum of crickets and the song of the sea. "It's okay," they said. "Rest easy. We will watch you. It will be okay. You will be okay come morning. We will be here." Aziraphale sank down into his pillow and pulled Crowley in close to his chest, rearranging the sprawled limbs so he could hold them all in his arms. The smell of acid smoke and heat filled his nose at first, but deeper down was something Crowley had created himself. Soil, earthen and rich, and something sharper like wine. He closed his eyes. Everything within the fog was asleep now. The rakshas gulls, the chittering chipmunks, the bog-soaked frogs, the old dog and the two lovers, until the new day rose to greet them all once again.